when we communicate via what we call symbols. All right, a symbol is something that represents something it is not. So, for example, consider the Valentine heart. All right, that's a shape. It's two curves at the top joining together and a point at the bottom. It doesn't really look like a heart, but symbolically over time we've come to recognize that shape as a heart. And in our society we've come to recognize the heart as the organ we associate with love. So the Valentine heart is a symbol of the physical heart, which is itself in our culture a symbol of love. An example of how these symbols might change across cultures is that in ancient Greek culture, the heart was not the organ associated with love. The heart was the organ associated with courage, whereas it was actually the liver that the Greeks associated with love. Another example would be what we call the letter A. All right, if I were to draw the letter A in front of you, we would see, what is that shape? All right, that's literally, it is not the letter A. Literally, it is an angle, an angle that is open downwards with another line intersecting it in the middle. But we have come to recognize that shape as a symbol which represents a concept that we call the letter A. In turn, that concept, the letter A, is a symbol to which we assign certain sounds that we make with our mouths. And ah, and A, and so forth. Now, that symbol, and those sounds, of course, we have come to associate meanings with, either individually or collectively with other such sounds that we call phonemes. So these are all symbols. These are all things that, again, the sound ah has no meaning in and of itself, but we assign meaning to it, again, with our language. It only has the shape of an upside down angle with a line intersecting it, only has meaning because we choose to assign meaning to it as part of our culture. So we'll be looking at these concepts because in a lot of ways your studies in college in general, and certainly your studies in a language course, involve how we interpret symbols. Okay. Now, these symbols are in some ways arbitrary. Sometimes most symbols are what we call conventional, meaning that convention of different peoples come along with that. People recognize that symbol over and over again as having some meaning. Again, the heart, as representing love, is something of modern Western civilization, but was not found in ancient Western civilization. In ancient writings, the heart symbolizes emotion, courage. So that's one example of how these things change over time and across different cultures. But the important thing is that cultures do have their rules in these regards. And when you're a member of a culture, or seeking to become a member of a culture, you need to learn these rules. Again, in order that you may communicate effectively. If you don't know what the symbols mean, if you don't know how to properly use the symbols that a culture uses to convey meaning, then you're not going to be able to achieve, social unity with other people. You're not going to be able to convey your ideas in a way that they will understand. You can't just say, well, I want this to mean what I want it to mean, and other people have to interpret it the way I intend it, right? Sometimes we have that attitude, well, why do I have to learn grammar? Because, people should just understand what I mean. Well, they don't. People know what the rules of grammar are, and they know what they're supposed to mean. And so they assume that when you write your sentence, that you've used those rules properly. Let's consider another cultural symbol, the smiley face. These days, the smiley face is an almost universally recognized symbol, yet it really is only, the yellow smiley face was only a invention of the late 20th century. Certainly the internet smiley face, there was just came out in the early 1980s, but the smiley face as a symbol of happiness predated that a little bit sooner. But nevertheless, it's still a relatively recent cultural adaptation.